Craig McCracken was just a boy from Pittsburgh who loved cartoons and animation since he was just 2 years old. After the passing of his father, his family moved to California, where Craig honed his skills for art and went to the California Institute of Arts, or CalArts for short. Right away, Craig mingled with a lot of his fellow animation nerds there. Several of them would go on to not only work on each other's shows, but have their own shows as well, like Gennady Tartakovsky and Rob Renzetti. Since Craig's biggest strength was character design, he helmed that while the others would handle storyboarding and animation. After doing several student films like No Neck Joe, he then planned to do a short featuring his next big character, a Mexican luchador-themed superhero called El Fuego. That is until his mother called and reminded him that his brother's birthday was coming up, and she insisted that he made him a card. So after doing a bit of doodling, Craig ended up creating the first ever drawing of the Powerpuff Girls. Since then, Craig went on to create Blossom, Bubbles, and Bud, as Buttercup was originally called. But before they had the name Powerpuff Girls, the trio went under a different name. I'm gonna let the man himself explain this one.
My friend Tim Myers used to say whoop-ass, open a can of whoop-ass all the time, and then I misheard a Black Francis lyric in a Pixies song where he says my roof has walls, and I thought he always said my whoop-ass balls, and I was like, I like the word whoop-ass, that's rad. My goal was to do 4 student films, 4 adventures of the Whoopass Girls.
Yeah, obviously that wasn't going to last on a channel that was marketed towards children and families. But before the name change, Craig put together an animated short by the name of A Sticky Situation in the year 1992. This was intended to be one of 4 shorts that would feature these cute little girl superheroes. The short serving as a proof of concept to showcase the general plot of the potential series going forward.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girl. But Professor Utonium accidentally added a can of whoop-ass to the concoction.
Huh. So it seems like the chemical X, or can of whoop, A-word, didn't really seem like much of an accident in this version, as he actively reaches for it and adds it himself, instead of accidentally smashing into it like in the actual show. Also, interesting how the professor's design changed. Here he kind of looks like a grown-up version of Dexter. From there, we get the same basic plot and narration. Not a whole lot is different in this. Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup dedicate their lives to fighting crime and stopping the forces of evil. We see them beat up an early version of the Gangrene Gang, as well as stop a bank robbery done by the Amoeba Boys. However, this version of the Amoeba Boys actually seem pretty competent, as they're able to ensnare the girls with their goo-like bodies.
Follow me, girl!
They're flying along. Watch out for another red-hot episode of Whoopass Stew.
As for the 3 unfinished shorts, a lot of key concepts that were in those would later go on to be in the show itself. The girls have to defeat a giant monster by turning into a giant robot called the Dynamo. Him, or the Devil, as they originally called him, challenges the girls to a race to see who would win, and of course the girls end up beating him. Mojo Jojo turns citizens of the town into dogs, much like the first episode to properly air, Monkey See, Doggy Do. Also, in this version of Dr. Mojo Jojo is actually voiced by Rob Renzetti, just wanted to mention that one really quick. Craig's CalArt teachers liked the Sticky Situation short a lot, and encouraged him to take it to a woman by the name of Linda Siminsky, at the time Nickelodeon's VP of Original Animations. While she was impressed with the short, she ultimately turned it down, saying it wasn't what Nickelodeon was looking for at the time. Sigh, another example of Nickelodeon turning down shows that Cartoon Network would go on to take. I guess Nickelodeon was just allergic to money at the time. Once out of college, Craig and his fellow CalArts animators went to work for the animation studio Hanna-Barbera on early programming for the television channel Cartoon Network. After getting their feet in the door, Craig showed his student film to the higher-ups in 1993. They loved the pilot and began negotiating. Unfortunately, they had to tell them that the company was instead focusing on a shorts program, where animators would make shorts for them, and if people liked the shorts enough, then they could possibly become a series down the line. But because of the name, whoops, A-word, girls, that meant that they couldn't air A Sticky Situation, or even finish any of the originally planned shorts. Again, I'm gonna let Mr. McCracken explain this one.
And Mike Lazo, the creative head of Cartoon Network, was at this cable buyers conference. He said, yeah, we're making this new short called the Whoopass Girls. And some cable buyer or somebody stopped him and said, what? We came up with every iteration that we could, and just nothing was fitting. And I was like, just none of these things felt right. And separately, two friends of mine, Paul Rudish and Z Cam, had actually come up with Powerpuff on their own. I was like, that's not bad. That's pretty good. I like that.
This is where good old What a Cartoon comes into the picture. The same block that helped give shelf space to Cartoon Network's early successes like Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, and Courage the Cowardly Dog, just to name a few. And sure enough, Powerpuffs were no different, getting two shorts on this block, simply titled Meet Fuzzy Lumpkins and Crime 101. As for Meet Fuzzy Lumpkins, we begin with Townsville Mall, where the girls are set to judge a jam competition. It's here where Fuzzy Lumpkins is confident that his meat-based jam is going to win, only to lose out because the girls thought it was the grossest of all the jams.
For I have created the meat gun! A gun so powerful, it can turn anything and everything into meat!
Okay, now let's be real. I don't think the Fuzzy in the actual show would be able to pull something like that off. That seems more like a Mojo thing than a Fuzzy thing. While the girls are enjoying their time at Pokey Oaks Kindergarten, they end up getting a call from the mayor, who looks way different from how he does in the show, and even looks different from the guy from those old animatics. He lets the girls know what Fuzzy Lumpkins is up to. And like that, the girls are off to save the day. Now, while we do have two of the three key voices for the girls, with Kathy Cavadini and E.G. Daly, Bubbles, as well as Miss Keen, who is yet to have a name at this point, are played by voice actress Cass Soucy, long before Tara Strong or Jennifer Hale would take over those characters. So that being said, Soucy does a pretty good job in the roles for these shorts.
Now you girls know better than that. What do you say?
Teacher, may we please be excused to save the world?
Yes, you may.
Once the girls hit the scene, they speculate who could have possibly done such a thing to their fair town.
Now, can you tell us who did this? Was it the Baloney Brothers?
Oh!
No.
Alfie Patty?
Ah!
No.
The Salami Swami?
Oh!
No.
That last one actually ended up in the real show in the season 2 episode Slave for a Day.
Then who? Who could it be?
Boy, they sure are in a jam.
Whoa, the talking dog was part of this show ever since the beginning? Well, that's cool to know. Once the girls find out that Fuzzy was behind this, they corner him outside the mall. He opens fire on the girls and ends up hitting one of Bubbles' pigtails, turning it into a chicken wing, which really makes her peeved.
People, if you only knew how much pride Bubbles takes in her hair. All the washing and conditioning, and the brushing, and brushing, and brushing, and brushing.
Subtle foreshadowing to Bubble Vicious, perhaps? Also, of all the girls, I would have assumed Blossom was the one who took the most pride in her hair. Anyway, Fuzzy is beaten and then turned into meat by his own ray gun.
You've done it again. This charity barbecue idea was grand.
Thanks, Mayor.
One question, though. Why does my burger have daily pops on it?
Oh, they'll never tell.
I don't know what to question first. The fact the mayor is still a steak, or the fact they are serving burgers made out of what was Fuzzy.
Nah, you're thinking too hard about it, computer voice llama lady. We still have to look at the second short, Crime 101.
Wait. Before Crime 101 was created, you have to talk about the initial reaction this short had.
Oh yeah, right. Well, unfortunately, not a lot of people were super thrilled with this short, as apparently a lot of test audiences hated this one.
This is the worst cartoon ever!
It's terrible! What are they, bugs or something?
Ugh, I'm gonna be sick!
Whoever made this should be fired!
I'm sitting there with the president of Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network execs, and behind this glass, and going, well, there goes my career. I just totally blew it. I'm not going to ever get a chance to make this as a series.
Craig panicked that afternoon, and he came back that evening and redesigned the whole show in a night.
I went, they're too weird. They don't have fingers, they don't have ears, and some people thought they were bugs.
However, the at-the-time head of Cartoon Network, Mike Lazo, told Craig that he liked the short, and told Craig to not let the negative feedback get to him so much. I'm really glad that they decided to keep the original designs because I don't know how to feel about these other designs. This is no es bueno es pronto. After getting the encouragement, they went ahead and made yet another short. That's where the second one comes in, Crime 101. This one begins with the girls defeating a giant monster called the Roe Beast all on their own.
Again. Back to you, Chuck.
And on a school night, even.
Hey, good to see that news anchor guy was also here from the very beginning. Soon we see everyone's favorite useless villains in this series, the Amoeba Boys. Unlike Sticky Situation, these versions of the characters are just as ineffectual as they are in the actual show. The worst thing they could possibly do is stepping on the grass when a sign says not to, or jaywalking. Girls get so tired of how weak these guys are as villains, they decide to show them the ropes by doing a real crime, like robbing a bank. Themselves. No, these aren't just well-disguised criminals like in Powerpuff Bluff. These are the girls themselves robbing the bank all on their own. Huh. This feels really out of character. I'm not alone on this, right? Does anybody else find this a little bit weird? Soon enough, the authorities show up and arrest the girls, and I love how shocked the judge is when he hears that the girls were trying to rob a bank. He's just about as shocked as I am.
How do you plead?
Guilty.
Now that's what I thought.
Guilty?
Guilty.
Oh my goodness.
However, the Amoeba Boys step into the courtroom with the bag full of money, taking credit for the crime. This is enough for the judge to let the girls off scot-free, and because the Amoebas are the real criminals behind this, the girls spring into action and beat them up. Though it seems like they actually like it. Apparently they've always wanted to get beaten like real supervillains. Huh. This ending kind of reminds me of You Snooze, You Lose, with the whole villains taking credit for another villain's schemes thing.
Bad guys at last, thanks to the Powerpuff Girls.
Well now, that was certainly interesting, wasn't it? Despite the few differences here and there, the shorts were really well animated, well voice acted, and helped set the building blocks for Cartoon Network's greatest show of all time. And to all those people who scoffed in those test audiences, I just gotta tell you something. This show went on to have 6 seasons, a whole bunch of merged, won several awards, got its own theatrical movie, and I happen to really like it, so there. As for what I'll be looking at next time, when I eventually get around to doing one of these videos, we're going to be looking at one of the many fan-favorite episodes of Powerpuff Girls, Criss-Cross Crisis. But until then, I'm the Powerpuff Fanboy, I fanboy over Powerpuffs, and you just listen.
Your turn, Bubbles. Okay. 1, 2, 3. She won.